So I just wanted to come back on because this specific lady told or said, she didn't tell me, she said, you know how I keep saying that there's people from other states coming in and following me and doing all this shit? So there's a specific person who is coming from New York. I don't know if Mr. Bobby here is from New York or not. However, I press charges on you, ho. I really do. Especially because you came in doing this bullshit and even doing shit to my children. My mom, I remember my mom said, when I showed her the picture and I said, oh, he's a pastor, all stupid. And then she's like, well, why would he be doing that if he's a pastor? And I'm like, well, that's what I also was thinking, before I even. And then she said, well, God had showed me a man that looked like him, and he was abusing you as a child. Like I was little, right? And it was him doing some shit to me. And she said, next thing you know, like after all that happens, I find out that, he keeps coming in, and I'm like, well, how the fuck are you a pastor? Like we got into it, right? Because I'm like, why are you here? And even with everything that had happened, you know how they say when you approve something in the ethers, it's kind of like something changes down here. I remember that one time because everybody was attacking me like crazy, and he jumped in to kind of help me, but this is all part of their fucking plan because they want you to choose one of them, right? Anyway, so they were all attacking me, and I'm like fighting them off, and then here he comes and protects me. So then I'm like, oh, like always, like, oh my gosh, you're saving me. So then I was like, you know what? Fuck these hoes. Let's go. I choose you, right? And then I don't, I'm just correcting that shit right now. Don't get that shit into like, oh, she said no, fuck you. Anyways, so at the time I was like, So then we're holding hands, and I'm in this plane to where I'm fuck everybody up, right? Because it was bad. It was fucking bad. So next thing you know, this motherfucker pushes my hand from the little button or whatever I'm supposed to pull to fuck everybody up, right? And then he pushes me, and the next thing you know, we're like getting into it. Like, and that was the last of him, bitch. That was the last of him right there. So it always comes to an ending when I'm accepting them. God shows me their true intention. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when he came in and that happened, we got into it. I basically, it was bad. So then when Chris came in, it was the same fucking thing. It was like, oh yeah, I choose you. Here we are walking along, walking together. And the next thing you know, he starts calling everybody like, come on, let's go. And I look back, and here come a whole crew, bitch. A whole fucking crew. So this motherfucker wanted me to be with him in the ethers, right? And then, so they all can benefit. They all can benefit. And this other pastor man was like, okay, well, I got your blessing. I got your, with you, whatever. And then now I don't need you. So fuck you. And he pushed me trying to save these other people, instead of saving me, because of everything that was happening. So that tells you, or God, at least for me, showed me where these fucking people really stood with me at the end of the day. So that's why, for me to just see what it is and then never go back, it is, what else do I need to know, right? When I needed you, you weren't there. And then when you were there, acting like you were there, you proved at the end that it was all for a benefit, for a come up. So going back to Mr. Pastor here, the lady had spoken this morning as well about, going to church, and no one's saying don't go to church, However, there's a lot of people out here that use the church, and I've said this before, use the church as a come up. They don't see it as, in Guatemala, there's a man who his name is Cash Luna. Okay, a lot of people know him. And he had ties with the government where they were smuggling money, smuggling drugs, and he got involved in all of that shit. You Google his fucking facilities, the churches that he built, they're bigger than a fucking mall, okay? And it's a church. And again, why? This lady was speaking about, you know how when you go to a concert, I was speaking about this the other day. When you go to a concert and you're just like happy and giving all that energy, they're feeding off of it. So some pastors already sold their soul to the devil and are in these covens. And this is how the fuck they, make their money. Anyways, let me cut this off because these bitches